so it seems there is some major discourse on Sonic Twitter regarding Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Mania 2. Now, I know what you're thinking, major discourse on Twitter? That's not news, Prem. I thought you were here to give us news. Like, there's always discourse on Twitter, they're always saying some bullshit. Well, yes, technically, but this one's kind of interesting as it regards a few things that I've talked about before, but it's like a little bit more confirmation of those things. Well, some people seem to believe it's not true, but nonetheless, we're gonna get into all of this right now.
Listen up. I said listen up. This is E123 Omega. Unless you want to be annihilated, you'll subscribe to premydaremy right now. I don't like to repeat myself.
Wait, hold up. Are you still using boring regular browsers when Opera GX exists? Opera GX offers you endless customization. With GX mods, you can flip your entire browser 180 with just one click and change pretty much anything you want. You can turn your whole browser into an arcade. You can hear sound effects anytime you type. The possibilities are endless. Default browsers tend to hog your PC resources a lot, but with Opera GX, you can use the GX control panel to limit the CPU and RAM that you're willing to let the browser use to get optimal performance when you're trying to play your games. And I know what you're thinking, all of this sounds cool, but switching browsers is a pain in the ass, right? But Opera GX is equipped with an import tool that allows you to quickly import all of your settings from your previous browser to GX, like browsing history, bookmarks, and cookies. On top of that, Opera GX is also compatible with every Google Chrome extension. So make sure to check out Opera GX using the link in the description below for free and enhance your browsing experience. And thank you so much, Opera GX, for sponsoring this video. So yes, as you already know, assuming you've beaten Sonic Frontiers, the endings fucking sucked, okay? It was basically just inferior Space Impact, which played better on my Nokia 3310. Yes, I played that shit back when it came out. A lot of Sonic fans wanted the newer form for the final ending, but obviously it didn't happen. And this tweet here addresses that based on what Ian Flynn has said. It says here, during the February 20th, 2023 episode of the Bumblecast, Ian Flynn, who wrote the story for Sonic Frontiers, revealed that he originally proposed bringing back Hypersonic from Sonic 3 and Knuckles for the final fight against the End. However, this was shut down by Sonic Team due to their desire to avoid the next tier power-up trope, which is the official reason why the Hyper forms have not been acknowledged in the series post Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Now I'm gonna play you the clip straight from the podcast from Ian Flynn's mouth and then we can discuss.
We're back and we got a question from Jay Chance. One more thing, Ian. What would it take to make Hypersonic canon in IDW Sonic, as I know you don't like power creep? Adam Bryce Thomas said he just wants one shot at Hyper in a milestone issue. Just one. Ian, let Adam cook.
Oh my god, I wish I could let him cook because that'd be delicious. And don't get me wrong, I want to see Hypersonic.
Yeah, I mean, we all do.
I thought it would have made sense for the final fight in Frontiers and tried to make my case, and that got shot down. In previous episodes, I've explained the dangers of the power creep, and I understand that. I do.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Hypersonic's freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
And I am definitely of a mind that, you know, if you do it carefully, you can avoid some of the power creep. Just give us that one glorious glittering moment. But that is not up to me. That is up to other folks that I failed to convince up to this point. But, you know, Hypersonic freaking rocks, so who knows when another opportunity might arise.
So yes, power creep is a real thing, right? Because if you make a new form, then it's going to be like, okay, well, there has to be a form of that, and then there has to be a form of that, and eventually it gets to the point where you start to not take the form seriously anymore. I understand that completely, which is why them not bringing back Hypersonic was fine in my opinion, but the problem is that in Frontiers, Supersonic is used multiple times. So what, 4 times, right? Was there Supersonic in Rhea Island? But it was at least 4 times. So it gets to the point where if you're going to keep abusing Supersonic, like every island is Supersonic, then it's not going to have the same weight in the final boss. It's like, I did a poll asking people what their favorite boss in Frontiers was, and everyone said that the weakest one was the one in Uranus Island, not even including the end, just the Titan fight. So the fact that you did Supersonic so many times, by the time you made it to the last one, it's like, oh, this is actually not even better than the previous one. It's like, it's underwhelming, right? And then to top that off with the space impact at the end, it's just like, you were gonna have to do something else. else. You can't just turn Supersonic into an every island thing and then be surprised when people want more. Like, if this was Sonic Heroes, right, you got 2 acts and a boss. If you just had Supersonic in every single boss, 2 acts and a boss that was Supersonic, by the time you make it to like Emperor, you're gonna expect something more for the end, right? By the time you make it to Metal Sonic, you're gonna be like, what, Supersonic again? Really? So if you're gonna play the power creep argument card, then you'll have to be aware that, like, listen, you can't just trivialize the current maximum power level and then expect us to not think there should be more, right? I'm not saying it had to have been Hypersonic, but maybe some cool cyberspace Cybersonic could have been a fun thing to see in Frontiers. But either way, there's no perfect solution to this shit, okay? Because like Supersonic and Adventure 1 was really fucking sick, because that was the first time we ever saw it in a 3D game with an ending like that. And then it happened again in SA2, but then they added Shadows, and now it's 2 characters, Supersonic and Super Shadow, so it's like extra epic because of that. And then Heroes comes in being the GOAT. It's like you got Supersonic, but then you got the team as well, so they come along with you, so now it's 3 characters, so it's extra epic because then you got the 3 teams doing their initial part, and then the Super comes along at the end to finish it off, thus culminating in the greatest game ever made. And now at this point we just expect Super at the end of everything. Okay, 06, okay, Super. Unleashed, okay, Super. And Colors comes around, is like, we're just gonna utilize the Wisp. It's like, it's bound to be underwhelming. There's nothing they could do at that point. And then after they successfully lowered our expectations with Colors, then they gave us Super again with Generations, so it felt good again, or at least it would have felt good if Time Eater wasn't mid. Then Lost World comes around and removes Supersonic again. Same with Forces. It's like, okay, now we've once again come to expect no Supersonic at the end of these games. So then by bringing it back in Frontiers, they're like, ooh, Supersonic's cool again. It's here. It exists. But then you give it to us 4 times and then just end on Space. It's like, what do you do at that point? That's just the harsh reality of this shit. No matter how epic you make something, right? If it's a TV show or whatever, or a movie franchise, no matter how epic you make it, at some point you can't make it more epic. Okay, same with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're building up to this big thing, and then you have Avengers Infinity War, then you have Endgame, and it's like the big climax, and it's the highest grossing movie ever, and it's so amazing and it's epic, and it's better than Infinity War. And then it's like, after that, oh shit, what do? We can't go further, right? I mean, I guess we could do multiverse, and it's done. Like, the excitement's gone, okay? And speaking of things that are gone, our chances at Sonic Mania 2, apparently. Now, it says here, Sonic Mania 2 was cancelled by Sega due to many reasons, including a payment dispute. While it was in development, so apparently it was in development, they asked for a better contract. Sega said no, because obviously that costs money and Sega don't like spending that shit, and didn't value the Mania team at all. Sonic Team's Sonic 5 using the Retro engine is the successor to it. And they also mentioned, while Zippo has talked about this previously, we have a different source that we cannot disclose at this time. You just need to specify you will never see Sonic Mania 2. And yeah, I literally covered this over a year ago when Zippo first talked about it. Like, this was like end of 2021. A lot of Sonic fans are getting mad on Twitter saying this is made up and this is bullshit and yada yada. I don't know why this is so hard for them to take in. I mean, yes, this guy hasn't revealed his source, so obviously take it with grains of salt or whatever, but the fact that it has been 6 years and there's no Mania 2 should indicate that something went wrong, right? And what usually goes wrong in things like this is usually payments. Like, this is not rocket science here, okay? A lot of the Mania developers formed their own team called Evening Star, and they said they were developing their own 3D platform, essentially using their own Star engine, which is like, I guess, the 3D retro engine. And Zippo said Sega canceled Sonic Mania 2 for, let's say, some extremely stupid reasons, and it's a heartbreaking fact that I just have to accept. Now, some people are denying that this is really true, because they're saying, well, people did return from the Mania team because Stealth came back to work on, Origins and whatnot, and people have given rebuttals to that and said, well, Stealth isn't all of the Mania team. A lot of the people who were in the Mania team have moved on and done Evening Star and other things. Even Stealth, after doing Sonic Origins, was complaining about how Sega handled the whole thing. But nonetheless, it's clear that the majority of the people who worked on Mania are not back. And the only reason that they wouldn't come back to Sega after making something like Mania, which was critically acclaimed, is if Sega didn't want to pay them what they were worth, right? Because if Sega said, hey, we like that Mania, give us Mania 2, here's a bunch of money, then they would have stayed, right? So it's as simple as that. They didn't get what they felt they were worth, and they left. And I mean, this is pretty on brand for Sega, so like, I'm not really surprised here. I don't know how you could fumble the bag so much after the success of Sonic Mania. You could have at least milked a trilogy out of it, right? At least a trilogy. And I'm saying that as someone who didn't really want Mania 2 that much. I mean, I did make a video saying what I'd want to see in Mania 2, but the video was basically like, I want something original. It was like, you can call it Mania 2 if you want, but I didn't want it to be like 60% old levels, 40% new. I wanted it to just be Mania but new, with also new mechanics and things like that. I'm not going to get into the details of that video. The point is, is, I guess they felt like we could do this by ourselves, right? If you don't want to come back and do Mania 2 for the dirt rates that we're giving you, then we'll use this retro engine that we've already got access to. We'll hire some different level designers or use some in-house people, and we'll just put the shit together, and Sonic fans are going to buy it because our Lord and Savior is going to be in the game, right? So yeah, we don't need you. And then we'll see how it does critically. Obviously, the modern 2D game hasn't been officially revealed yet, but when it does, I'm sure there'll be tons of discourse and tons of comparing it to Mania and classic Sonic, and then people going, you see, that modern Sonic was never good. When classic did a sprite-based game, it was fire. When modern Sonic did it, it wasn't. And it's not got anything to do with classic versus modern. It's just got to do with who was working on it. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. Sonic Frontiers missed out on Hypersonic, even though Ian Flynn was fighting for it because they are afraid of the power creep. And Sonic Mania 2 is not happening because they don't want to pay the developers, apparently. And thus, we are getting this modern 2D game by effectively different people, but using the same engine. And of course, a big shout out to all my channel members. If you want to become a channel member, you can click the join button next to the subscribe button. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link will be in the description. But that's all I have to say right now. So, Premy out.